Hey guys, welcome back. I gotta warn you, the sound quality of this video might be questionable. I am at my mom's house, dog sitting, air conditioning is super loud, and I forgot to bring my good mic. So, there's all of that. I teased at the end of my last video that I thought Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was the best of all the Souls type games from FromSoftware's, like super hard Souls games, Bloodborne, all that stuff. And I meant what I said. But amazingly, I didn't have the enough experience I felt, because I had taken a little break from Sekiro. There were other games I was playing. I did love it already. I had already decided it was better than the other Souls games, the other FromSoftware games, but I had no idea how much. So one of the reasons this video took so long was I needed to play it some more. I also had some pretty good clips on the PlayStation 4 I have at my mom's house, so I had to sort of use this one, so it kind of worked out. But I meant what I said, because it is so much more than the rest of the other FromSoftware games. I mean, with the development of this game, a lot of us were hoping, and it turns out that FromSoftware was actually going to make another Tenchu game, and God, I want another Tenchu in the worst way. You guys have no idea. Tenchu was fucking great. The first Tenchu came out around the same time as Metal Gear Solid. So you had kind of the stealth action in both of those games. But Tenchu was the first ninja game that actually had you play as a ninja and doing ninja things. I mean, not play as a ninja, because obviously there was Ninja Gaiden, there was Shinobi, there were all those other games where you were a ninja, but in Tenchu, you had to play like a ninja, okay? Before there was Assassin's Creed, there was Tenchu. You snuck around, you hid in the shadows, you stealth killed dudes, and fulfilled your mission. And it was fucking great. It had the super cool, like, cinematic cutscene sort of stealth kills, and it was great. Tenchu 2, to this day, remains one of the best prequels of any series ever. Like, ever. You know, some prequels kind of go back, and it's kind of annoying because you kind of wanted to see what happens after the events of the first game, and then the next game will make it a prequel, and sometimes it's not the second game, sometimes it's the third game, like Devil May Cry or something. But Tenchu 2 was, not only was it worlds above the first game in terms of gameplay, but in terms of voice acting, they apparently had a much better budget, and they got some big names in there. Rino Romano, who used to be Spider-Man back in the 90s, not Christopher Barnes from the TV show, but Rino Romano started playing Spider-Man in the Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon. I love Rino Romano, he was a great guy. Paul Lighting was in the second game. Paul Lighting, best known as Colonel Roy Campbell from the Metal Gear Solid series. They had a great budget. The production quality was great, and the gameplay was awesome, and the story was just, it added so much to the existing mythos. You didn't even know how great the characters were from the first game. You just thought maybe, you know, they were cool, and they were. But Tenchu 2 added so much more to their backstory. It was amazing. And I really, even the ones on PS2, Tenchu Wrath of Heaven and Tenchu Fatal Shadows, were awesome too. And unfortunately, I'm over here, you know, making gushing remarks about Tenchu. I'm supposed to be talking about Sekiro, but really, if you've never played Tenchu, your options are stupidly limited. It sucks, but they're not on the PlayStation Store, any of them, for PS1 or the PS2 games. They're not on the PlayStation Store, at least not in North America. If you live in a country where you've got Tenchu, any of them, on your PlayStation Store, let me know, okay? If you live in Uganda and you've got like a Ugandan PlayStation account and all the Tenchu games are there, let me know, and I will have to start a Ugandan PlayStation Network account just to play those games over and over again. But so your options are limited. You're probably gonna have to do emulator software, or if you've got a working PS2, at least you can play them all because of the backward compatibility there. But like, your options are limited. So I really would have loved a new Tenchu, and Sekiro you know, when we were getting glimpses of it, I was like, man, that looks like Tenchu. That looks fucking awesome. But it wasn't that. At the same time, I wasn't expecting it to be exactly like Tenchu. This was FromSoftware. FromSoftware, you know, Miyazaki-san is a brilliant guy, and he really thinks outside of the box. So I was expecting a sort of hybrid of like Souls and Tenchu, and that's kind of what I got, and yet it's so much more than that. I got a friend that works at GameStop, and he was telling me, you know, not long after the Sekiro came out, that he was getting a lot of returns for the game. And you know, they usually split into 2 or 3 camps. You know, there was one that was like they were really hoping for another Tenchu, and it wasn't enough like Tenchu, so they kind of returned it. Then there were the guys who really wanted a Ninja Souls game, and it wasn't enough like Souls, so they returned it. And then there were people that just didn't know what to expect, so then you were kind of a ninja dude, thought the game might be cool, and then it was just too fucking hard, I guess. Even the game journalist thought it was hard. I remember that stupid line, like, game developers should show respect to their players by giving them, you know, an easy difficulty. It's like, no, you're missing the entire point. I rip on Souls and Bloodborne a lot because of the lack of story, and thus the lack of motivation to put yourself through all that. But I do love those games, and for a very old reason of mine, one of the reasons I take video games so seriously is for a number of reasons, and those reasons have increased the more advanced video games have become. But one of my oldest reasons for why I love video games so much and why I take them so seriously is they teach you things about life. Yeah, I'm not being hyperbolic here. I mean that. They teach you things like patience. They teach you things like observation. You know, hard bosses, hard enemies, you got to discern their patterns. You got to know what they're going to do. You got to predict what they're going to do. You got to know when to take a hit and when to dodge. I mean, you have to do all of that, and it teaches you patience, and hardship is good. Like, don't let anyone tell you that hardship, we should try to abolish any hardship of any kind, because that is just going to turn us weak, and we already have turned weak, to be honest. Games are too easy now. Everything in life, so much of life is too easy, and it's turning us into a bunch of little bitches. It really is. And you don't really understand. That's one reason I actually really do love that a bunch of, especially younger dudes and some girls, that like the Souls games, because I'm like, on the surface, there's like no reason you should like this game because it's stupid hard. But I'm psyched that they do, because, you know, they're learning lessons they should be learning from their own lives in a video game. And so if the rest of their life isn't going to teach them these kinds of lessons, at least, you know, this video game will. And Sekiro is certainly no different there. At the same time, I must stress, it is neither Bloodborne nor Dark Souls. It is very much its own game. I said it was a hybrid, sort of a hybrid between Tenchu and Souls, but it's definitely more on the Souls side than it is the Tenchu side. And that's because you have this open world with shortcuts you can unlock, and, you know, unexpected challenges around every corner. But it is also very much a single-player game, and there is no co-op. There is no, like, helpful hints left by other players in the world. And I know that turned off a lot of Souls fans, especially those that are used to, like, teaming up with a buddy and beating the Souls games that way. Yeah, if that was your strategy for the other Souls games, you're fucked on this one, okay? You literally are going to have to get good, alright? And with Bloodborne, you know, the game said, and everyone kept saying that it wanted you to be more aggressive, and that the game encouraged aggression, and to an extent that was true. But yeah, like, one of the things about the Souls games and Bloodborne is I always play very cautiously. I actually don't die a whole lot, and that's mainly because I'm very careful. I'm always expecting shit. I'm always, like, I die to bosses a lot. If anything, I die more on bosses than I do on just the rank and file asshole enemies, like this guy. Well, he's not a rank and file. He's actually a boss, but he's an asshole. That's what I meant. Anyway, it was always the boss fights of Bloodborne and Dark Souls that where I would die the most. But the rank and file, unless, you know, there are those enemies that just pull an 8-hit combo out of fucking their ass and just like launch you to the air and just fuck up your whole day. But you know, for the most part, it's the bosses that I always found to be the most threatening. With Sekiro, though, there's no stamina to worry about, so you can dodge and dash as long as you want, as much as you want. No big deal. But the big difference between this game and the other two are, it ain't about the dodge anymore. It's about the deflect. This game has a posture system where you basically knock the opponent off balance from either deflecting their blows or just attacking them, and while they're dodging and we're just attacking, period. And once their posture is, you know, diminished, you can do the death blow, aka the stealth kill. Although it's definitely not a stealth kill if you're in the middle of a boss fight. The game calls it the death blow. The other interesting mechanic, the main selling point, I guess, it's even in the title, is the resurrection system. And that is where a lot of the fun of this game comes from. And part of it, you know, with Dark Souls, with Bloodborne, part of the frustration comes from when you die, you gotta trek all the way to the fight you died at to either get the shit you lost, like your souls or your blood echoes, or just the checkpoints, the bonfires, you know, that they're few and far in between. With this game, there are plenty of the checkpoints were more, you know, intelligently placed, strategically placed, and the resurrection system also sort of helps. You can pause the game, which is a big difference between this game and the others, and it is definitely a single player experience. It's not an RPG, so you don't make your own guy. You play as a guy. You play as him, the wolf, he's called. All the Ashina ninja can be named after animals or insects. In the case of Lady Butterfly, is a total bitch. But you know, this game also has more of a story than those other games. I've always railed about the other games. It's like there's nothing wrong with having a story, and I know there are some of you that are like, no, story sucks. Hideo Kojima sucks. He's trying to be a movie director, and there's too much cutscenes. It's like, you know, I get it, but I don't think that. I think video games can be a lot of things, and I don't think they need to just be a video game with mechanics and no story, and that's it. That's lame. I grew up with those games. You got the story from instruction manuals back in the day when I was a kid. You know, NES games, Super NES games. You had the instruction manuals that they told you what the game was about, and there you go. Then you just play the game. You know, but going into the sort of 3D era, we got better games. Metal Gear Solid was one of those with an amazing story, and you know, you loved playing the game, and the game was fun. The Telltale games and the games like Until Dawn, while I love those games, I wish they were more like a video game though. And I don't mean less story, less cutscene. I mean like something with an engine, with a mechanic system. And Metal Gear was always great about that game because it was still very much a video game. You snuck around, you hid. Even if you got spotted and the alarm went off, you weren't fucked. You could fight your way out of there, or you could be super stealthy and make sure no one sees you. You have multiple ways to play it, and that's also what makes Sekiro so great, is you don't have to go around, you know, duking it out with every enemy you see. You can very much be a ninja, be stealthy, and kill everyone with one blow. And that's great. It's great that you have that option. You have you're also not, you know, stuck on the ground with your grappling hook. You've got some verticality there that wasn't in, you know, the other FromSoftware games. At the same time, that's a double-edged sword, because if all you do is stealth kill and you're not getting used to the combat, you're gonna get your ass handed to you in a boss fight. You need to learn how to fight in this game, and it is very, very vital. Because even mini bosses, there's no way to stealth kill them in one blow. Every boss has like two you have to 2 nodes of health. Like, if you don't stealth kill them the first time, you have to basically fight them twice. If you do stealth kill them the first time, you just have to fight them once, but there is no way to just instantly kill a mini-boss by stealth killing them. And at first, that kind of bothered me, but, you know, upon playing the game even more, I kind of understood what Miyazaki-san and the FromSoftware team were going for. There's very much, more so than Bloodborne, sort of this built-in way to encourage you to be aggressive. Don't be that dude in Souls that, you know, where you hold a shield and just poke things with your spear and play it safe. You have to get in there, you have to get in their faces, and you have to kick some ass. And then it all kind of clicks for you in a way that mirrors real life. It clicks for you because you begin to realize you're stronger than you think you are. No shit. It really, because in Bloodborne and in Dark Souls, you're about as human as a human, okay? Like, you're against those enemies, you're basically like a human. You have stamina, you can get tired, and then when you get too tired, you can't dodge out of the way fast enough, and you will get your ass kicked. The wolf, though, from Sekiro, is a fucking ninja, and he's got mad skills, and you can use those mad skills to your advantage, and you really have to if you want to get any enjoyment out of this game. With Bloodborne, with Dark Souls, the limitations are there, and you accept them, and you either love it or you hate it, and you develop kind of your own way of playing those games. Like for me, I'm, you know, pretty cautious, like I said. In Sekiro, though, I found that Texan blood in my veins kind of take control a few times, and I'm like, yeehaw, it's a do-si-do, motherfuckers. And I was just started, you know, like whooping some ass because I was just, you know, kind of in the zone. You know, every game has that. When you master a game's mechanics and you just start, you know, you get in the zone and you don't stop, you don't quit, and then shit like this happens. And yeah, that's FromSoftware for you. Yeah, that dude just came out of fucking nowhere when I'm kicking all kinds of monk ass after learning their fighting styles and finding flaws and going in there and using what I've learned to just slaughter them. Big ass dude just comes out of nowhere and fucking kills me. Like the head monk told him to hide the whole time. He's like, yo, hide behind statue, wait for ninja to appear, then hit him hard on head. And the big guy's like, okay. That's how he sounds in my head. He sounds like Little John. Okay. And then after he waits and shows up and kills me, the head monk is pissed at him. He's like, I said wait for ninja to appear, not wait for ninja to kill everyone. But yeah, so that's still gonna happen. You're still gonna get caught off guard. It's a FromSoftware game. I mean, you kind of know that's coming. But there will also be other things that seem insurmountable, and yet almost every boss that seems impossible has some sort of exploit. The thing about Sekiro is your ninja prosthetic is a tool. It's just as cool as the fucking trick weapons of Bloodborne, I think, because you can add shit to it, like the shuriken. You can add, you know, the firecracker to disorient enemies or scare off animals that attack you. Basically, it's a fucking Swiss Army knife, you know, as an arm, and it's badass. And there are everything you love about the Souls games and about Bloodborne, all the you know, esoteric, you know, mythological shit in the background that's going on. It's all here, but there is more of a story. You have a vested interest. You care about Wolf. He's a cool dude. He's just trying to do right by his lord. His lord is he's a kid, and he's part of what's called the dragon heritage, and he's got like the dragon blood, and that's actually the cause of your resurrection power. He basically blessed you with its power, and The other thing I want to tell you guys about is how the resurrection actually works, because I don't want to spoil it for you. And for this game, I'm going to have to spoil some things, but I won't say what it is, but there is a long-term consequence to dying and coming back so much. I'm not going to say what it is, but there are consequences for dying too much. And that's one of the things that does make this game a little daunting, is like, well, that bad shit's going to happen if I keep dying like this, so, you know, it kind of discourages you at first from taking risks, and that's one. I don't know if that was intended, if FromSoftware intended for that to happen, but yeah, that was kind of one of the major reasons why I kind of, you know, took a break from the game for a while. I was like, well, fuck, man. I mean, like, I don't want. You want the good ending on your first playthrough. Sometimes you don't, but you know, a game this hard, you know, unless you just really, really love it, and I do, I mean, I probably will, so that just doesn't necessarily apply to me, but a game this hard, if you take the time to beat, unless you really, really love it, you're not going to play it like a whole bunch of other times and see all the other endings when you can just kind of look them up on YouTube, but you want the good ending on your first try. Most of us do. So if there's a consequence to dying all the time, it sucks. There is a way around it, but basically, a lot of people think that the resurrective power is sort of what causes it. When you die, you have the option of, if you have a resurrection node available, you have the option of just dying or resurrecting. And a lot of people wrongly assume, and I did too at first until I kind of noticed some things, that a lot of people wrongly assume that dying was better. Not using the resurrective power might prevent the bad shit that I told you about from happening. But no, that's not true at all. Actually, use the resurrection as much as you fucking can, because the power comes from the dragon's blood, and the dragon's blood draws power from all the blood you've taken from enemies, all the enemies you've killed, all the lives you've taken. That feeds the dragon's blood, and where you run into trouble is dying and having it respawn you back at the sculptor's idol, which is like the bonfire for this game. That's what actually causes the bad shit to happen. So if you have a resurrective node, fucking use it. Alternatively, there is a node that you can always replenish from resting at the sculptor's idol, and then there's a node that you have to recharge by killing enemies. And that second one can only be activated, like, let's say you're fighting a boss with 2 nodes and he kills you the first time and you have a resurrect, so you go ahead and resurrect, and you still have that other node. By killing the boss's first node of health, you get to use your second node of health. If you're fighting regular enemies and they kill you and you come back and then kill at least one of them, you'll get to use that other resurrection node. You can only do that a limited number of times, because like I said, you have to, once you do that, once you use that second node, you have to fill it back up with death, basically, by killing enemies. And it's when you run out of resurrective nodes and can't resurrect, that's where the problems happen. Now, there is something called the unseen aid, which is sort of Buddhist principle of, you know, Buddha being there for you. Because unlike the other FromSoftware games like Dark Souls and like Bloodborne, you don't lose everything when you die. You lose like half. You lose half your money and you lose half of the XP for the next skill point. And that's the other thing. Skill points are great. You actually use skill points to buy tangible skills that actually make a difference. Sometimes it's a straight up, you know, move, an attack. Sometimes it's the ability to do a special move in the air or use your shinobi prosthetic tools in the air. Sometimes it's just you do more damage to enemies and more damage to their posture. I mean, the skill points you earn actually have tangible skills, and think of it more of as like a skill tree in like something like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed or whatever. the skill points you use they make the game better. Really, they do. So it's not so much an RPG like Souls and Bloodborne as it is an action game that takes place in sort of like a Souls or Bloodborne's, type of world. But these skill points, and then once you've earned a skill point, you don't lose that by dying. You lose the XP needed to get the next one, but you don't lose the skill points themselves. So there's that as well. But like I said, the way the game kind of does punish you is long term there are consequences for dying so much. However, you can undo the bad shit that happens. There is a way to undo, but you need a resource, and resources are finite in this game. So you still don't want to end up, dying too much. However, I did learn, kind of realized it one day, that there is a way to get around this. If you don't think you have the skill to win, and you've already used up your resurrection, you can pause the game and quit the game. And when you do that, you restart like outside of the fight that you were in. Especially, it happens to me with bosses. That's really when you want to use it with bosses. You'll end up with very little health, however much your health was whenever you were fighting, and decided, this isn't going well. That's how much health you'll have, but you'll at least be able to go back to a Sculptor's Idol and rest, and get all your health back and all that. So there's a way around it for some of you that really want to play this game, but you want the good ending. I get it. There's a way around it. But again, sometimes shit happens so fast and you get your ass kicked so fast that there's nothing you can do. But yeah, so I just wanted to explain how the resurrection system works in this game, because a lot of people don't understand it. Because in classic FromSoftware fashion, they don't really tell you a whole lot. And some of that's great because learning on your own can be fun. It can be awesome. Especially when you figure shit out before, your friends do, who are playing the same game. It's awesome. And this game actually does explain things a little bit more than the other games. But the other thing about the unseen aid that I was telling you about is you have a percentage. The default is 30%. You have a 30% chance of not losing anything when you die. So that's cool. There's definitely nothing like that in Bloodborne or Dark Souls, but it is in Sekiro. However, if the bad shit starts happening, the thing I keep telling you about, your unseen aid percentage will decrease, and the only way to get it back is to undo it the way I told you can undo it. This fight here is really the fight that transformed me into a dude trying to figure this game out, into a dude that fucking loved this game, and I really found myself during this fight. That's the thing, is there are certain bosses you click with, especially in games like this, especially in FromSoftware games. There are bosses you just kind of click with, and you're like, I can beat this piece of shit. Like, he's got a pattern, I can beat him. In Bloodborne, it was Jura, the hunter, on top of the fucking tower, and the whole time he's telling you hey, don't fuck with the beast here. They're peaceful. Don't fuck with them. And if it were Fallout or Skyrim or any other Elder Scrolls game or any other RPG, I'd have been like, hey man, it's cool. I don't want to hurt any beast. I just need to get through here because the game is telling me I need to get through here. And you go on your merry way and nothing happens. But no, because it's Bloodborne, you have to go through there, and any beasts that see you are going to attack you. There is a way to sneak past and then befriend Jura by not killing any beasts. It involves a whole nother boss fight, and I took the time to do all that because I didn't want to fight him. And on my way back to his tower to climb up there, I took a wrong turn and ended up being attacked by beasts, and I had to kill them. So everything I had done to befriend Jura was fucking wasted. So I get up there, you know, he kills me like twice, and then I'm like, you know what, I can beat this asshole. Like, I got him. I know his pattern. And then what does he do? He fucking goes out like Hans Gruber in Die Hard, Alan Rickman's character, and he falls off the fucking tower. And I'm like, really? I could have fucking beat him without that. Like, I had this pattern, I had him figured out, and then he fucking falls off the building. Well, you don't get that chance with Mr. Genichiro here. He doesn't fall off this tower. But it is a pivotal part of this game, and this is what I meant, but I had to spoil a little bit, because this is the guy that takes your arm in the beginning of the game, and you know you're gonna fight him again. So it's not really a spoiler, but you do fight him again, and he's kind of tough, but at the same time, something about this fight sort of helped me to understand the game more. And I really started to understand how the game was pushing you to be more aggressive, to use your skill, to fight. Don't flinch, just get in there and fucking fight. Yeah, you know, there's parts where you need to dodge. The other thing though is the Makiri counter, the red kanji that appears. It happens under 3 circumstances. First is a thrust, usually with a spear or a pointed weapon, and that you can use the Makiri counter on, which is a skill you learn where you just dash into it, which sounds nuts, but you know, it works, and that fucks up a lot of their posture, and it's very, very useful. I highly recommend you learn it as quickly as possible. But the other 2 circumstances under which that kanji appear are when they're about to sweep you, which means you can't, like, you only block mid to high. You can't, like, leg check them or anything, okay? It's not MMA or anything. If they try to sweep you, you're gonna have to jump. But there's also a skill you can learn where if you jump above a sweep and then bounce off their head, you can, you know, death blow them after that. And then the other circumstance is the one you can't do jack shit about, and you just need to get away, because it's the grab. There is no defense against the grab. My chief criticism with those 3 types of moves is it's the same red kanji. I haven't taken the time to check and see if the kanji is any different, but it's red every time. And since I can't read Japanese kanji, well, I can if it's like, you know, having on the back of Akuma's shirt. There's that. But I can't read kanji generally. And so I kind of wish they'd thrown in more colors to tell you, like, what was what. Like, maybe the grab should be red because you can't do anything about it, but maybe the sweep could be yellow or something. Now, right away I didn't think it was impossible, because they kind of will telegraph what they're about to do, but it is hard to tell the difference between what's going to be a grab and what's going to be a stab. However, you can kind of tell when they're going to sweep. They kind of telegraph that. Either way, but by observing the enemy, again, this is where learning shit comes from. By observing the enemy, you can tell what they're going to do. You can tell if they're going to sweep just by looking at their body and how it's positioned. You can just kind of tell. They do telegraph it, but the problem is, you know, it happens, you know, at a split second, and just by doing that and observing what they do, you kind of just pick up on when they do it, and then once you know they're about to do it, then you got their ass, because you got the Makiri counter and you can use it to your advantage. It's a very, very useful skill. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Like, share, subscribe, do all of that, because my content is uncensored and YouTube's algorithm doesn't like bad words. So we'll see you next time. Hope you liked it.